with extensive experience in policing, counter-insurgency, intelligence and disaster management. Mr. Kundu brings deep operational understanding of how technology and security must converge to protect citizens and critical infrastructure. So we are privileged to have you lead this discussion. Inviting our distinguished panelists, Mr. Vinod Kaul, Regional Vice President, South and Southeast Asia, Gilat Satellite Networks. Warm welcome, sir. Mr. Kaul brings insights into resilient SATCOM systems that ensure secure connectivity during emergencies and high-risk operations. We invite Mr. Shaheed Hassan, CEO, Aila Innovation, a technology innovator focused on advanced analytics and security solutions. He brings insights into how AI-enabled tools can enhance homeland security and civil defense responsiveness. We invite Mr. Kannan K., co-founder Augsense Lab, working at the intersection of intelligence sensing and situational awareness technology. He contributes expertise on next-generation sensor integration and decision support system. And Mr. Keshav Kumar, Vice President Security, Gurgaon and North, BU and District Magistrate. He brings a perspective on how civil authorities leverage technology for coordinated response and infrastructure protection. And may I now request Mr. Sanjay Kundu to kindly take over and lead this important conversation. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, madam, for such a gracious introduction. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a great privilege to be back to the 2026 version of the DefSat. I don't know how many of you have read the book How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Okay, there's a flip side. How to make enemies and make people upset. I think the session after lunch and the session before you go home. I think I've already made many enemies because I think people want to rush home after such a long session today. I am very happy that SIA has introduced a vertical on space perspective on internal security, homeland security, disaster management, and civil defense operations. This is indeed great. I just want to start. I heard the proceedings for the day. Space is a niche field and it's got very limited users as of now. But if the space is open to civilian users, suddenly in India you will have 150 crore users. The cost of technology will also go down and it will be very useful for a common man. This is my thesis. So we have with us eminent panelists who are basically domain experts. They are CEOs, they are innovators, and they are practitioners. For instance, I know Mr. Keshav. He works for DLF as Vice President. DLF does more work than the state PWD departments every year, year after year. And what is the size of industry that we are talking about? Space industry may be 1 lakh crore today, 2 lakh crore. Most of the corporates spend more money than that every year. So the size of space industry today is very small. It is niche, it is critical, but I think it needs to be opened up to civilian users. Now I have been DGP of a Himalayan state, Himachal Pradesh, which is very disaster prone. And I will also speak from my experience in Water Resources Ministry and also as UN Police Commissioner. What has been done? How space has helped? First of all, in Himachal, we get a lot of landslides. So Government of Himachal partnered with IIT Mandi. They have been able to give us a basic early warning system for landslides. Landslides lead to a lot of road accidents and finally the debris goes into the rivers, clogs the rivers and reservoirs. There are a lot of deaths caused because of landslides. They basically track movement of mountains, and if the movement is very fast, they are able to predict. But it is still in rudimentary stage. My friend Kannan has done extremely good work in Cloudburst. He'll talk about that. The second we found it very helpful was search and rescue operations. Himachal is a tourist paradise. It is paradise for trekkers also. A lot of foreign trekkers also go. But they get lost. And that is when our satellites phone help our teams to track them. Most of the areas are shadow areas, for instance, Kinnaur, Laul Spiti, tribal areas of Chamba. Third is fires. Because Himachal has about 50% of the area under forest, every year we have fires. But somehow this is an unattended work. So I work for a company, I'm a director in a company based out of Gift City, Gandhinagar. There we do this technology transfer also. We hired some 12 very good engineers and we told them to develop a system, space-based system for detecting fires. We were able to do it for Europe. We were also able to do it for California. Now we have a model ready and we have all these municipalities, villages and state authorities from abroad buying our product. So there's a huge market in this. So there are urban fires also, there are industrial fires. I'll tell from my experience, but these are industrial district. There's a huge chemical plant there, it caught fire. A lot of people died and the fire also spread. So space can actually help us in vulnerability assessment and also hotspot monitoring, and we can then deploy our resources accordingly. Right now this is unattended. For instance, Delhi like city does not have a fire plan. It does not have a space-based fire plan. Then what we do is, we have Himalayas, a lot of glaciers are there. There's something called GLOF, Glacial Lake Outburst Floods. We monitor, we use space technology for that. And one thing we have found space technology very useful is post-disaster needs analysis. That is assessment of the area after the disaster has happened. That is how the relief will be calculated. One field that I worked in Ministry of Water Resources was dams. Surface water was under me. We found that dam safety, reservoir management, downstream management, emergency action plans and inundation maps, space is extremely helpful. This is the best tool that we have. Now recalling 2023 and 2025 disasters in Himachal Pradesh, these were largely waterborne. We had all kinds of disasters except for earthquakes. Now cloudburst is an issue. We need to develop a space-based system for predicting cloudbursts and early warning systems. We will be able to save a lot of lives and property. Secondly, all these Himalayan rivers and other rivers have a lot of reservoirs, a lot of dams, but there's no integrated reservoir management. As a result is, one reservoir releases, there's flood. The recent Punjab floods is a case in point. Had we been able to use space technology for reservoir management and integrated management, we would not have so many people getting killed and so much loss of property. I think Punjab suffered the severest flood in about 50 to 100 years. So with this, I'll close here, but when we moderate it, when we take the discussion further, I'll request you also to join in. Now I request Mr. Vinod to kindly give his inputs.
Thank you, sir, for a kind introduction, and thank you, SIA, for another successful DevSat event. So, as sir said correctly, that space has been not used completely and exploited for commercial and for civil usage. So in the era of and I'm from the communication side of it. I'm from a company called Gilat Satellite Networks. We are based. We are basically communication equipment service providers using GEO, MEO, and LEO satellites. So in an era where we have hybrid warfare, cyber disruptions, and we have also climate disasters, space becomes an integral part. And when we say there are multiple gaps, when we talk of terrestrial communications, all that terrestrial communication networks cannot suffice when we have such kind of calamities. So we have communication blackouts during disasters. We have network congestion when you have any terror attacks or riots. We also have in the border areas we have limited fiber and mobile connectivity, and we are vulnerable to cyber attacks on terrestrial infra. And there is when we see there's a lack of integrated command and control capability when we have such kind of disasters. So space becomes an essential component when we have to cover these gaps when we talk of where the space is being used today. And I think although we have VSAT networks deployed today in India for all of these activities, but the challenges that we face, that it's not it's not fully being exploited in terms of usage, considering the various policies or the price points, the bandwidth price points. There are many points where it's not being fully exploited, but the space is an important asset, and from the communication perspective, when we talk of disaster management, is one of the important points which Sat said. Sat said about a hotspot monitoring space base. This is a very important concept. We are doing a network in, I don't know, there's a company which I heard today, but we as Gilat also working on solutions in Europe, where forest fires are very heavily happening, and because of change in the climate. So the hotspot monitoring has become a very critical part, and space is an excellent asset which can be used and is getting deployed. But I think this is something very important which we can see in India also. Like the water management resources which we are currently scarce, and how to manage the dams and how to manage the flow of the water. Currently we have SATCOM being used, but definitely there is more to it. How do we deploy more sensors, IoT based sensors, which can control the gates and how water can be managed. That's an important concept, and space can be efficiently used.
Thank you, Vinod. Now I'll request Mr. Shaheed to give his views on this.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Honored to sit with such a professional delegates. I am coming from a land of Hyderabadi biryani, Hyderabad, right? So the mere idea of what does we can do with the space for disaster management or in security and all of that, right? So I would rather say it is an orchestration of both, space-based capability plus the sensor fusion or the analytics that you have to take care of, right? For example, one of the point, as rightly said, is post-disaster need analysis, as that was mentioned, both in flood case and after disaster has occurred, right? I would say because of the spatial capability that we can enable, there is a whole dimension that we can change, right? So simple tasks like flood risk zone being auto flagged before the disaster can actually hit. Critical infra can be one layer that you can actually add, right? Which can be protected, and evaluation into optimizing suggestions. And with respect to fires, when it was put out, we are one of the companies that throughout world got finalized for a wildfire challenge, where we actively detected wildfires from space, and in less than a minute we were able to downstream the data and actually provide the insights, right? So these possibilities are there, but on a scale when we are bringing it down to international right, national security and disaster management, I think it will play a very huge role. Yeah.
So I was talking to some innovator in Noida. I said, you do such niche kind of work. Do you supply to the government? He says, no, government is very complicated. And first of all, they don't put out the tenders like this, and they have very little use of us. And I said, then he says, we supply all over the world because we have given a proof of concept. And they are the niche leaders in the field. So you can do this kind of work in India, and you can have the whole world as your market. So something like this has been done by Mr. Kannan. I like him to share his views.
Thank you, Chair, for setting the context, and thank you, SIA, for having me here. Probably I will wear the sensing hat in the panel. I'm representing my firm Augsense Labs, standing for Augmented Sensing Lab. We are a quantum sensing startup for building a new type of RF receiver. Why we are doing this? If you see sensing as a regime, for decades it is fragmented. We have defense satellites, synthetic aperture radars, ELINT system. We have weather satellites. We have climate for long-term impact, spectrum analysis, communication satellites. These all satellites are planned, designed individually, duplicated infrastructure, missions are duplicate. But when we work with the electromagnetic spectrum, this electromagnetic spectrum is actually not fragmented. When atmosphere causes impact to radar images, it will actually carry the signature of atmosphere. When GNSS signals are getting impacted by ionosphere, it will affect our electromagnetic ELINT capabilities, surveillance capability. When cloudbursts affect, create disasters, that time it will also create impact for our surveillance capability. So we felt that there is an opportunity or there is a need for unifying these sensors, or same sensors can act as multiple modality at the same time. So we are creating, using atomic transitions, we are creating a atomic receiver, which is creating a common physical layer for receiving any frequency signal starting from 0.1 to even to terahertz level, which will remove the need of conventional antennas, which will go beyond the classical physics limit of maybe minus 120 dB, minus 130 dB to a very high sensitivity level. To achieve what? To create modalities which we were taking a lot of time to, say, decade to create. For example, a radiometer is a modality which is used for climate sensing, but mostly the data can be used for only by research institution, because one radiometer satellite cost around 500 million USD. Say, if we wanted to create a 15 to 30 minutes coverage for any nooks and parts of Earth, it is almost impossible to create. So what we are trying to do is, we are building an atomic receiver based radiometer constellation. Same time it will act as radiometer, same time it will act as ELINT satellite, same time it will act as passive synthetic aperture radar, same time it will act as radio occultation satellite. So that there is an opportunity to plan the mission cost effectively, opportunity to achieve resilience by collecting fund both from environment point of view and from the defense point of view also. Why we are doing this also? Again, because we don't see environment as just a different topic. We believe that environment is also causes national security. US already declared that weather is also a part of a defense frontier also, because we are losing many people in weather rather than border issues also. So we need to come innovative solution, not just for defense solutions, even for the weather also and the climate monitoring also. So one technology, one need of the hour for the India and the global is our ability to create hyper-local weather sensing systems. Currently, we are talking weather forecasting systems, but currently as a country, we lack ability to predict, as the chair noted, that ability to predict cloudburst, ability to predict extreme weather events are very limited. Also, even the cyclone planning is also. Cyclone, we are able to, for the first few years, we are able to avoid death in a cyclone. But at what cost? Each cyclone planning, as a country, we are spending millions to billions, because when a cyclone forecast is changed, We evacuate so many people, but finally the cyclone will not come there. So even though we are saving, the industry is losing hundreds of millions. So there is a need for investment on weather. We believe that our sensors will do that part of it. Probably I will finish there. I can add whenever there is a question.
So, thank you, Mr. Kannan. My question to everyone is, what is the most litigated thing in the country? It is land. All the courts are full of land cases. And our land system owes its history to Raja Todarmal, who was his minister during Akbar's time. So this Khata system, this Patwari, Kanungo, Naib Tehsildar is that system. And we still follow that. Can't we have space-based system for land management? You still need to go to the land registration office, get a piece of paper, that is your ownership. And they don't follow any units. Some states it is something else, some states it is something else. If space can intervene in land management, I think our agriculture, irrigation will improve, our urban development will improve, because there are so many encroachments. Our tax collection system will improve, our industrial development will, rural development will improve, our forest and coastline management will improve. Our president is with us, SIA president. I think this is a food for thought. This is the basic thing that an Indian needs. Detail of his property, but he can't get it. And courts are full of this. And these cases never get decided for the simple reason we don't have a metric for it. We are following a system which was established 500 years back. Now coming to the next thing, estate management. Government has so many buildings. Some are underused, some are overused, some are not used at all. Can't we have space-based applications for this? For instance, government schools run only for 6 to 7 months. What happens to them? Can they be used for multiple things? So we have an expert with us, Mr. Keshav. He is Vice President of DLF. DLF is known to have managed its land very well, its estates very well, and he has background of working in BSF on the border, and he has worked in NDRF for 10 years. I'll request him to kindly give his views.
Thank you very much, sir. And thank you very much, SIA, for giving me this opportunity to have a talk on this subject. So certainly this internal security part, homeland security part, and civil defense, this operations part. So I just want to start with some incidents which have recently I have faced and what I have faced in past, and nothing has changed so far. So recently, 6 months back, what happened that in Rajasthan there is one district, Rajsamand. Have you heard about that? In that there is one block, the Rilmagra. So what happened? There are several open cast mines are there. So we got information. I was chief security officer there in Hindustan Zinc. So we got information that some of the people are trapped in that open cast mines. So around 9 o'clock in the evening. So we reached there. So we came to know after reaching there that police was there around 2 o'clock. They got trapped around 9 o'clock in the morning, and police reached there around 2. And because there was no communication, police doesn't have any system, as you have said. So we are also talking about this homeland security. So they don't have any communication. So for that reason, they have sent, ASI has sent somebody to SHO, and then SHO called us. And then because they know me, I am from disaster management, so they told me. I reached with my team, and we have started operation. And around 2 o'clock, we extricated the victims. This is one thing. Now, nothing have changed so far, why I am saying. Now come to Jharkhand. I was in Tata Steel in 2022. I am talking about the place that is called West Singhbhum, Saranda Forest, you have heard about. Recently, we have heard that several LWEs have been killed there, and several cache of arms have been recovered Okay, so for the last 8-10 years, we are listening that several things have been. So the LWS are now concentrated in that area. So I was, because adjacent to that area, there is one place, Joda. So I have got my mines there. I was working in Tata as head security, Tata Steel. So I was moving from that place. So when I was moving from this Chaibasa to this Joda, that Saranda patch came, and my driver told me that, sir, ki ye 2 kilometer area mein sir koi communication nahi ho payega. So we are talking about not about crisis communication, we are talking about the normal day communication. Okay, and in that the police is working, and somewhere our CAPFs are also working there. Now, third, I'm just quoting some examples. Some of my seniors and colleagues, they have served there in Manipur, sir. So I was deployed in this Chudachandpur district. So I was there in 2001, 2002, 2003. No communication was there. So at that time, in Frontier, there was one in Marsat, and that was there. There are several limitations. So, and sorry to say that is in Marsat is still functioning with that limitation. So no, this satellite-based communication is there. So in 2023, I visited that place just before this Manipur crisis in that area. Still, those areas, Henglep, Sajik Tampak, Shanghai Court, beyond Shanghai Court, where you have heard about that, this UNLF, PLA and Pre-Pak, they are having their this hideouts, their training centers are there. So still, no communication is there, and our forces, they are functioning there. So now, coming to disaster management part, sir, as we have heard that this cyclone Philin 2013, it is a best case study. If we compare to this 1999 super cyclone and this 2013, this, we have brought the mortality number to 2 digits. At that time, it was 5-digit number. So now that is a big change. And that big change has happened because of this space-based communication. So you have heard about that. IMD, INCOAS, they have put their Doppler-based radars in this Bay of Bengal. So real-time, this information, real-time messages are disseminated. And certainly, evacuation takes a lot of expenditure, but it is still taking into consideration the vast, the population of our area, it is required. So for that reason, we are able to save a lot of lives there. I was working in that 2013. Because of that, only communication part. Now, coming to this communication, what we are, border management, sir, you have seen the border management closely. Okay, so while working in BSF, sir. So what you have seen 10 years back is still communication part. I don't think that we have improved a lot. That INMASAT, that VSAT, QDA that was brought at that time still doesn't have any. So all those technologies are 10, 12, 15 years back technology. So for that reason, I'm saying that a lot of things need to be done. Now coming to a best suggestion which you have given, this space-based land management system. So corporates, certainly corporates, they are covering a vast area. Tata, I have seen several patches in Odisha, several patches in Jharkhand. These are having no communication. Here in Hindustan Zinc also, although that is a plain area. You have talked about Himachal Pradesh, but I'm talking about the plain area where we are having constants of communication. So for that reason, corporates, they have also got a very big responsibility to take care of. So, and as Homeland Security part, sir, certainly it is not about CAPF or armed forces, sir. Police should also be equipped with this space-based technology, space-based communication system. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Keshav. So there was a basically idea that occurred to me. Road safety is a big issue in India. And traffic management is a big issue. If you ask anyone, they say the traffic is very bad, but no one does anything about it. Just to let you know, because I have worked in this, India has 1% of the total automobile population of the world, 1%. And we have 11% accidents in the world. 11% fatalities in the world are in India. And the World Health Organization, WHO, has said that if India can reduce this, India can save about 2 to 3% in its GDP because the loss is huge. Then we have about more than 180,000 people dying every year due to accidents. And we found that the earth systems have their limitations. Can't space be used for this? That is for better road engineering, better enforcement, better blind spot identification and management. So this is my idea, but I'll again throw back this to Vinod if he's got any further thoughts.
Okay, no, thank you, sir. I just want to add what Keshav said, that we have he's talked about communication challenges in all the areas, border, mines, and when you have disasters. So I think just to give some updates on the satellite communications have definitely become much better in the recent past. So space is effectively used in disaster management. We have new developments on the bandwidth side, where high throughput satellites have come into picture. You have MEO satellites, you have LEO satellites, and you have GEO, which have become much cost effective in terms of bandwidth. And also on the technology ground side, yes, you have specialized antennas, which now for even for Homeland Security's police forces have been deploying UAVs, where we have effective communication on the move in the UAVs, which are controlled, which monitor the affected areas, which could be disasters, which could be riots, which could be any internal security challenges. So UAVs have been effectively used, and the space has been used for the communication purposes by many countries, and we do it in India also. Besides that, disaster communication management, I think MHA and Government of India are deep into it, setting up a national grid. There's a project which has been debated and discussed, like we have in US, similar basis. We are talking about a project in where there will be which will have layers of communication. It will be terrestrial and backed up by satellite communications. And then we have from the technology side, we have on the move antennas now today on the land mobility, as well as on in-flight connectivity and UAVs. So we have a vehicle also here outside in the parking, where we have a live demo on the move antenna, which can be used for border management, and where you can have border surveillance and security. It has a camera fitted on it, where the forces can carry it and move around the border using a very low profile antenna, which is a flat panel and is not really detectable from a distance. So that's an interesting development on the technology front. And coming on the specifically what Sir said about traffic management, we have today technologies which are being deployed, where first of all most of the new cars are getting automated on the they are software driven. Most of the things are software driven. So one thing which is being worked out is that the software updates to these cars should happen via satellite. So they are looking at a satellite receiver in all the cars, where when the car need not go to a workshop for getting the software updates, it should be all downloaded to a car. That's one direction which is moving quite fast, and Toyota and other cars are thinking on that direction, and there are companies working on this front. So the second part is that when we look at new constellations, LEO, which makes smaller antennas possible, and direct-to-device technologies coming at the forefront. So we see definitely a possibility of how a smaller antenna can be integrated in all the vehicles for better traffic management, and how it can be particularly how the management of a traffic and how the roads should be designed can be done using an effective software management, software-based system, which can understand the traffic management, and then accordingly the routes can be developed. Definitely things are happening on this front in the space side.
I flagged it because it's a serious issue. One issue that has emerged in India is crowd management and flow management. As religiosity has increased, religious functions have huge congregations. The Mahakumbh that was held last year saw more than 65 crore people. Almost half of India came there. And we can learn from experience of Makkah and Medina, where they use space technology for flow management and crowd management. So any thoughts about this, or any other thoughts, Mr. Shaheed, that you have?
Thank you, Sanjay sir. I think I would agree with Vinod's point on how we need to integrate from vertical down the line, from space all the way down to the automobiles and all of that. So mere insight, right? So I am so let's take an insight where Telangana has 45% of the camera vigilance that you have in the entire India, right? So if you are looking at that scale, one of the events that also happens in Hyderabad is Medaram Jatra, which is merely a large number of crowd gets attracted, and authorities there have deployed space-based plus UAV-based solutions, making sure that it has to come down to a level where they are managing, let's say, the airflow that has to come in, let's say, a limited people of zone that has to be covered with a large number of crowd, how we can manage it via drones and all of that, right? This is where Aila comes into picture. What Aila is uniquely doing is, it is not just depending on the space-based early morning system, but we are utilizing multi-sensor fusions, not just from space, but from ground, air, and making sure that you get a meaningful insight out of it, right? The idea is to not have a sci-fi technology. The idea is to solve a problem, right? So how do we do that? So it's the idea is not about the capability, but the orchestration that we can do with respect to the amount of data or the sensors that we have in hand. I think, yeah. So I'll just end my statement that space has to be used for early warning, right? Where air-based UAVs has to be used for tactical intelligence, and ground has to be eventually used for decision making.
Thank you, Shaheed. Kannan, you mentioned about hyper-local weather prediction. So climate change is a buzzword. In fact, there's more money in climate change than defense today. So if space is looking for a new market, climate change is there. And the World Bank and the international organizations like the French Foreign Bank, the GIZ, everyone is ready to finance climate change. I think I can speak from my experience when I was in the Water Resources Ministry. We had gone to Australia. In India, we have different verticals. You have Department of Earth Sciences, Meteorology, Weather. Then you have Hydrology, which is under Water Resources. Then you have Droughts, which is under Agriculture. And then you have Airspace, which is under Ministry of Civil Aviation. We were very pleasantly surprised when we visited the Australian Bureau of Meteorology in Melbourne. So it is whole of government approach there. They deal with water, hydrology. They deal with weather, that is meteorology. They deal with tsunamis because they are responsible for tsunami of the whole region there. They also deal with airspace. There is one agency which deals, because all these are interconnected. I think this time now come that the whole of society and whole of government approach as far as space is concerned should be there, because ISRO is largely a scientific organization. It has its own objectives, but the uses or benefits of space are much more than launching of satellites and rockets. So I'll now request Mr. Kannan to give any views on this.
I agree with you, sir. And probably another example we can quote is US itself. Say NOAA have almost half of NASA's total budget. All the satellite constellation R&D related to weather, climate, atmospheric administration will be funded by NOAA. And that NOAA is not independently doing it. NOAA is investing in private firms like Spire, GeoOptics, Planet IQ in terms of initial seed fund. Seed fund, when I am talking about seed fund, it is in 100 millions. and also they create technology superiority that they, for the first 5 years, they give this radio occultation data free for all the country. Now Trump came and nicely closed that door. Now all the countries are buying, because India doesn't have radio occultation satellites, because only US have it. They have invested it. So currently we can compare the IMD's budget versus ISRO's budget. Like IMD is like maybe IMD's capital budget, maybe Keshav might have a good idea. Maybe it's a few hundreds crores, if that's an exaggerated amount. So probably we might need new organization who has well funded, but invest on private, who can bring private revenue to that. I'm not saying that all the probably you might agree that all the revenue in this case we need not expect from government. Weather forecasting is a government business, but risk management can be a privately funded also.
Some additional thoughts that I had is, if you see Indian Railways, last about 1 or 2 years, we have a lot of head-on collisions, a lot of accidents. And their safety and signaling is based on earth stations. And if you visit railway stations these days, the crowd is huge. And some railway stations have had stampedes also. A lot of people died. I think railways can also be a place where space can look, and if you're talking of fast trains, bullet trains, I don't think you can manage like this. The times of having a station closing the door, showing red and green flag is gone now. This has to be converted into space. Now airports, airline is supposed to be a niche industry, but unfortunately that is also suffered. And in Delhi, because of the fog and because of the bad weather, almost 1 month the flights were either cancelled or they were delayed. This is not a good sign. This also needs to go to space-based systems. And if you go to IGI sometime in the night or early morning, it looks like a dharamshala. So crowd is so much, the traffic is unmanageable. I think this point in managing this through space. One more thing I realize is government has huge automobile fleet, a lot of inventory. But where it is going, no one knows. You find government vehicles going here and there. When we were in UN, we had car logs. They used to actually log us because it was a safety issue also. We were in South Sudan. They needed to know we don't go into dangerous areas. I think there is case of monitoring. Big companies also have huge fleets. So now that Keshav is working for such a big company, I'll request his additional views, if any.
So, sir, as you have mentioned earlier regarding we are dealing with huge land parcels, okay, and certainly as we are managing this Gurgaon area also. So apart from that, Tata, I have seen that they are also having huge land parcels with them. So a lot of struggling with a lot of encroachment issues on day-to-day basis. So your suggestion, certainly this is valuable. So we can think about that, and we can always have if some solutions are there, we can really will look into it and certainly go for that, because it is not about this only DLF or Tata, or ultimately public is just affecting. So that is one thing. Second thing, I just want to know whether this I have several talks with my batchmates and all this. So there was a need for creating a cadre of geospatial intelligence cadre. That is very much required. We are having northeast borders, which is less monitored. So Tripura, this Nagaland, this Manipur. Second, Kashmir, it is well defended and well monitored. So that is one thing which, as we have talked, I have heard several talks also in that. So that is one part which is very much needed on that regarding this homeland security, regarding this civil defense cooperation, where role of this defense, security plus corporates is very much required, very much needed.
Thank you, Keshav. See, I like to just end my part. Border management is an issue because lately, last 5-6 years, there are huge crossings by drones. They carry narcotics, they carry arms, they carry explosive, they carry fake currency. Our coastline is not properly guarded. Just for your information, earlier most of the narcotics used to come from Pakistan through land. Today, 19% of narcotics is coming through land, 81% is coming through the sea route. Our coastline is not very well guarded. So there's a huge space for improvement there. And this cannot be done. You cannot post a person every 1 kilometer. This is not possible. You need better technologies because our contemporaries are outsmarting us. And this drone droppings have become so common in Punjab that it has almost spoiled our border population. Now our challenges are huge, but because Mr. Vinod represents a very niche kind of company, any last thoughts?
Oh, thank you, sir. So I think just to summarize what I was talking about, just to add one point on the vehicle management system, there is a SATCOM-based vehicle tracking systems today being deployed, and we do use SATCOM effectively for tracking high asset mobile vehicles which carry important things. Globally they are used, and we are technologies where we have deployed SATCOM for such kind of tracking. Coming to satellite, I think is an important aspect for satellite communications. If I talk about is for particularly when I said about the border management and the coastline surveillance. So we are using it, but there are improvements. There are various gaps which we have analyzed as a country and which we are working on, which would need more deployment of SATCOM assets to monitor our coastline, which is very long, and also on the border side, how do we effectively manage the whole border, and satellite will play a role because you have challenges on the terrestrial, on the mobile side, and SATCOM will play an important role. And we have now new technologies where we have, as I said, we have now specialized antennas which are low profile. The prices have changed. The satellite capacity prices have changed. More satellite capacity is available. New satellites are getting launched. In all the orbits, we have GEO, MEO, and LEO satellites. And we see a lot of new capacity available. And on the ground side, technologies have come up which give effective price points and effective techno commercials to deploy such kind of technologies in the border management, coastal surveillance, and also when we talk of internal security, challenges in areas where we have Naxalite challenges, we have manpack solutions, very lightweight new manpacks have come up, which can be effectively used by all our paramilitary forces. So these are the new technologies available, and we should be willing to deploy them extensively and use space extensively to manage the internal security as well.
So, Mr. Shaheed, as an innovator, any last thoughts?
Yeah. So as a company who has worked with Indian Coast Guard, we have seen the softwares being utilized from not an Indian origin, right? So what we are doing already is we are doing an approach where we do space-based detection and analysis of illegal shipping, illegal activities, drug trafficking, and all of that. We have a use case where we have deployed both an airborne solution where we detect dark vessels and report them within no time and get that data down to earth and then do the complete detailed analysis. So yeah, a very much effort is more required, adding more sensors like neuromorphic sensors which will tell you the motion where your entire data is not being utilized, but limited data will be utilized when there is only motion, right? So technologies are yet to evolve, but within the limited this thing, I think the orchestration is the major aspect that we have to work on, where we do the multiple sensor fusion and creating an insight out of it, adding AI/ML layers around it with specific to use cases.
Any Mr. Kannan, as an innovator, any
Yes.
last thoughts?
Sir, as a company who is trying to frog leap into a new technology, I guess we have IDEX as an organization which is already existing, which is kind of giving an opportunity to adapt this new technology to defense problems. Probably we might need a IDEX replica for civilian users. Because if you see, you have quoted the examples of Mecca and Medina. And last year, Saudi has invited a global space application challenge for different use cases like road safety, etc. So all the companies in the globally have gone and submitted their innovative technology and ideas to Saudi government. Probably we also need to replicate, at least in the space context, for different weather, climate, or a road safety, whatever the issues which we think space can be used.
So we'll throw open the house to questions. If there are any questions, the panel will be willing to take them.
Question.
Anyone? Please. You can speak from there only. Yes.
I mean, first of all, a very good panel. I want to ask you a question that you talked about different technologies. Sounds like technology is not the issue. I think it's creating the multiple domains and the policies which can work, multiple entities can work together to form a very much perfect ecosystem which allows the consumers or the consumption of the data in more formidable format. It sounds like that to me based on what I'm hearing, is that like one department doesn't talk to other department. So that means there's a lot of inefficiencies in the system. Anything the government has to do, or this is something even the private sector can solve this problem? Because this has been solved by in international markets very easily by different either governments or in the private sector itself. Any comments on that?
I think largely we have to convince the political leadership that this is an interest of the country. So for instance, land records, because politicians are driven by political interest. If you are able to convince that with this one single step, you will have huge people voting for you, I think they'll do it. It is a matter of convincing political leadership. And down the line, government will also fall in line. And then there are private players who will bring up the technology. It's not a difficult thing. For instance, why should a common villager maro chakkar of Patwari office? If you are able to convince that if we can put a satellite on the moon, we can actually measure the land properly. Just a question of convincing the political leadership. But because largely this has been scientific and research organization, they did not find practical uses for a common man for this. Now we are talking about disaster management. Why not road safety? Why not, for instance, coastal security? It needs to be, if we are able to convince political leadership, I think they'll buy it in. Yes.
Good afternoon, sir. My question will be, satellite technology enables real-time monitoring and crisis intelligence. But in prolonged conflicts like Manipur, if authorities fail to act decisively, how effectively can such technology translate into real protection and meaningful reliefs on the ground?
You know, when you have extended conflicts, I think satellite technologies will play a better role because when in extended conflicts, the fixed networks, and I'm talking of communication side, the fixed networks get more affected because they are more vulnerable. Satellite has a higher uptime and a better because you're talking to a satellite which is up above 36,000 kilometers or at that kind of a level. So they are more, they are less vulnerable versus the terrestrial technologies. I think satellite will play a better role in such kind of conflicts. When the conflicts are longer, satellite communications will play a better role.
You can also check the historical data. Say, for instance, we also used to do it in BSF. You can check the camps that were there 5 years back, 4 years back, 2 years back. So it helps you to develop the intelligence. This we do for our contemporaries across the border also. So this is a must. Without this, you just rely on human intelligence.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Can we close the session now? Yes, okay. Thank you very much indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together. Also thanking all our delegates who have stayed till the end with us. And I would request Mr. Sanjay Kundu to kindly do the honors of presenting mementos to our eminent panelists. We present to Mr. Vinod Kaul. We present to Mr. Shaheed Hassan. To Mr. Kannan K. And to Mr. Keshav Kumar. And may I invite on stage Mr. Pavan Kumar, Board Member, Setcom Industry Association, to kindly do the honors of felicitating our distinguished chair and moderator, Mr. Sanjay Kundu. And can we request for a quick group photograph of the panel?